Hello, and welcome back to the I'm Done Dieting Now What podcast, where we talk about how to go from binging, obsessed, and overwhelmed with food to intuitive, joyful, and spontaneous, where food no longer takes up so much of your energy and brain space. I'm your host, Michaela, a registered dietitian and body image coach, and in this episode, we're diving into a topic that touches so many lives: emotional eating. And emotional eating is often portrayed as this really negative thing. But today, we're here to explore the nuances and understand why it's actually a normal part of your relationship with food. Plus, I will share 3 empowering tips to help you navigate emotional eating. So let's dive right on in. And first and foremost, we have to figure out or set the stage for what even is emotional eating. And emotional eating is commonly thought as eating in response to feelings rather than hunger. So eating to cope with emotions like you're sad, you're stressed, you're overwhelmed. It's like you grab the carton of ice cream, you sit down and eat it. You're coping with things. You're eating your feelings, essentially. However, this label can sometimes be very misleading, especially if you have or are currently dieting or restricting in some way, shape, or form. Because food is emotional, and emotional eating is actually normal and okay. But when food has morality, so when food is good or bad, or you think emotional eating is this big bad thing you shouldn't do, aka a mental restriction, you're always trying to be good, not eat too much. You have this laundry list of food rules running through your mind of what you should and shouldn't be eating, right? When you are in that headspace, that's when emotional eating becomes a problem, because you believe you have an emotional eating problem, but in reality, it's actually all about restriction. And so here are a few examples of how this all plays out. These are a few things that I am actually currently working through with some of my clients. So here is example number 1. You had a stressful day at work. You had a tough day. You're dealing with some tight deadlines, a difficult person at work. And, when you get home, you're feeling drained, you're feeling tired, you're feeling tense. And instead of eating dinner, you find yourself grabbing handfuls of cereal, chips, leftover slices of pizza, followed up with a big bowl of ice cream. And that whole time you are telling yourself, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. I need to stop. And as you continue to move through all that food, your feelings of shame, guilt just pile on. And at the end of it, you are left feeling even more guilty than you started, even more stressed, because you did this big bad thing you shouldn't do. You shouldn't have done. You should have had the dinner that you planned on having, but instead you were so overwhelmed that you went home and ate everything, and you're left feeling terrible. And this happens again and again and again. Example number 2. You have a major event coming up, or you have a lot of things on your to-do list, and you're feeling all this anxiety and overwhelm. You have so many things that you should be doing or that you need to do that you're like, I don't even know where to start. So you know what? Let's go to food and start snacking, because this can keep me busy until I figure out what I should do. So in response to that overwhelm or not knowing where to start or what is the right thing to do first, you go to food, because at least it can bring you some joy and at least it can give you something to do. So it's kind of like that procrastination eating. And so you find yourself eating multiple bags of popcorn, you finish a pint of ice cream, and at the end of it, you're like, why did I even do that? I wasn't even hungry. I had just eaten. And then you feel those intense feelings of shame and guilt because it was something that you shouldn't have done. Example number 3, it's a rainy day and, you're bored, you're inside, it's the weekend, you have nothing to do. You feel unproductive, you're uninterested in any activities, you're tired, but you repeatedly find yourself going to the fridge, nibbling on leftovers, snack foods, not out of hunger, but out of trying to get a break from the boredom. and you keep snacking and snacking and you're not hungry, and those feelings of guilt, of shame, of why do I keep doing this, and berating yourself continue to happen, all leaving you left with, today didn't feel good, I'm bloated, I feel gross, why did I do that? The shame, the guilt, and you feel like something is wrong with you. So those are examples of how emotional eating due to restriction plays out. And so all of these examples start to show you emotional eating when restriction is involved. This is when emotional eating feels like a problem because there is that diety, all or nothing, black and white, scarcity mindset involved. Now, whenever you do heal your relationship with food and you take back the power from food, you see food as neutral, there is no more scarcity. You're allowed to have all foods. You're eating throughout the day. You're eating meals that you enjoy. That's when this cycle no longer becomes a problem because you are not in that scarcity or black and white mindset. Food is available, so there's no urge to move in, no, not to move, but to move to food or to use food for that right away coping mechanism. You're going to find more and more that it doesn't feel great anymore, and you're going to want to do something else. It's not going to feel that big of a pull or an urge. But when you're stuck in the black and white or the scarcity mindset, that pull, that urge, it's almost inevitable, and it will always make you feel like you have a problem. And so that is what the biggest point that I want to make here is that emotional eating is not a problem if you are not restricting or you are not in that dieting mindset. Because here's the thing, emotions play a central role in our behaviors, and eating is no exception. From a young age, we're taught that food is a source of comfort, of celebration. I want you to think about, all the things that you do around food with your family, friends, loved ones. We come together to celebrate birthdays with cake, with pizza, or whatever it is that you like to do on your birthday. We have parties. I don't know if anyone has seen this, but whenever you I know I see these on like TikTok and Instagram or Facebook, but people having parties about bring your drink that looks like your profession, or bring a Chick-fil-A plate or a pizza plate or a this platter, and it's creativity, it's fun. It is connection, sitting down for dinner with your friends, with your family, and talking over a meal. It's joy. Going on spontaneous ice cream trips with your kids, seeing their faces light up. That is what food is all about. Food is so much more than just nutrients, just food. And that is the point. It's inherently connected with our emotions, and it has been since the beginning of time. Plus, it's a biological thing that we do need, yes, but it is also emotional. And the important message is that emotional eating is not bad. It only becomes problematic when it's our only coping mechanism or restriction is involved. And acknowledging this can be the most liberating thing. Because if you do it, it does not mean you're failing. When you eat for emotional reasons, you're just human. And also, this brings me to my 3 tips on how to navigate emotional eating. How do we stop getting in that cycle of using it to cope and not feeling good about it, right? So here are my 3 tips for you to navigate emotional eating. So number 1, it's going to be all about eating enough and eating foods that you want throughout the day. So going back to the basics, because if you do struggle with that emotional eating kind of like bingey cycle, there is restriction there. And I'm talking you're eating meals and snacks that are actually satisfying, what you want rather than what you think you should have. That is a great place to start whenever it comes to lifting those restrictions. And I'm talking like having the sandwich when you want the sandwich, having both sides of the sandwich, or both halves of the sandwich if you want them, if you're hungry for them, eating to that fullness point throughout the day. Again, eating what you want versus what you think you should have. So sandwich over the salad, or, say you want something sweet after your lunch, giving yourself permission to have that. Those are the little things that will help with emotional eating or that urge to go in and eat, like you start eating one thing, then another, then another. If you're eating enough throughout the day, that is a huge baseline. So that is number one. Number two is normalize and give yourself permission to eat emotionally. When you go into the kitchen after a tough day, give yourself permission to eat. Become aware of when that voice goes in your head of don't do it, don't do it. Give yourself permission to do it, because trying not to do it is a mental restriction that keeps you doing it anyway. It's the same thing as saying, I can't have those cookies. Get them out of my house, throw them away. You're going to go buy them eventually and you're going to eat the whole pack. We have to create that abundance and also give yourself permission to do it so that shame and guilt cannot build. So that is number two. And again, easier said than done, but we want to normalize it and give yourself permission to do it so it stops holding so much power. And then number three is self-compassion. Being kind to yourself, treating yourself like you would as a friend if it happens, and just in general throughout your day. Acknowledging that it's okay. You maybe needed some comfort today or needed a distraction. And, compassion is what leads to greater insight and change over time. And so it's important that we use that here whenever it comes to, moments where you do eat emotionally, following it up with compassion rather than shame and judgment. So remember, the goal is not to eliminate emotional eating, it's to understand it and integrate it into your life in a way that actually feels good and helpful. Emotional eating is a normal part of life, and it's about how you manage it that matters. So today, I want to wrap up the episode and invite you to reflect on how can you incorporate these tips into your life. Is there any way or any areas where you maybe need to add a meal or a snack? Add something that you actually enjoy. What is a way that you can normalize emotional eating and give yourself permission to do it? What are areas or places where you can add some compassion or build awareness to add compassion throughout your day or your evenings? Thinking about what is one thing that you can try to implement today. And so if you're listening to this episode and you're sitting there and you're like, Michaela, I have tried everything to make peace with food in my body. I'm scared. I don't know where to start, how to do this. I have an emotional eating problem, and no matter what I do, I just keep getting stuck. Well, you may need someone to collaborate with you on your journey to finding food and body peace. So, when you do find the right guidance to help you see where you're getting stuck, why and what to do with it, when you have tools to break the all or nothing mindset and connect with your body, and support to release the shame you feel about food, your body, in order to allow space to heal and grow, that is when the healing magic happens. So where you're able to not worry about emotional eating because you've made peace with food and you have other coping mechanisms in your toolbox. So that is when that can happen. And if you're stuck, this is exactly what I help you do in my one-on-one food and body peace program. And right now I have 2 one-on-one spots available for May. So if you're interested, head to the link in my show notes to learn more and apply. And that is all I have for you today. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and leave a review if you did enjoy. And then until next time, here's to making peace with food and honoring your body. I will see you all next time, or talk to you all next time.